everybody, how's it going? Drew Creel here. Welcome to episode 8 of Shred Sessions. Today with me, I have the entire band. Yugen is here, all 4 of the dudes. These are awesome, incredible musicians, progressive metalcore from Nashville, Tennessee. If you like this show, if you like this podcast, please share it on Reddit, share it on Facebook, all the different places where content of this nature is shared. I would really appreciate it. I just want to go around really quick and introduce everybody. Sitting on the couch, I've got Shane Runnels, the vocalist, and next to him is Jake Morton, the guitar player, and then we've got David Naglak, bass, and Branndon Center on drums. So, guys, welcome to Shred Sessions.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Hell yeah. Several months ago, I had the opportunity to see you guys open for, I think it was the Oceano show. From Alluvial show. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
We played it with you.
All of those are kind of a blur to me. Any show that's happened at the end, it's kind of like the same thing over and over again.
In a good way, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I love the end.
Alluvial was incredible. Yeah. Gosh, man. And I was really just blown away by just all of the different types of musicality that you guys somehow fused into your sound. Metalcore drumming, breakdowns, ambient guitar things, tapping, fretboard tapping, clean vocals, dirty vocals, just overall charisma from the bass player. It was just insane, you know. It was just it blew me away. So I was like, let's get these guys on the podcast, and here they are. So yeah, I guess my first question is, you guys recently put out a Shaboozey cover with Sammy Slam Dance, okay, and I got to know more about this. The song Tipsy, I'm sure you guys have probably heard this is a major pop song, but Yugen did a cover of this, and it's actually really sick. It's really good. Shane, what made you guys want to cover this song? How did this happen?
Want me to go?
I'm going to defer entirely to them on this.
50% of the same things we'd say about this, but basically Sam just was like, hey, at least to me, I had no idea what was going on at first. I didn't realize you were doing vocals on this. He was just like, hey man, you mind playing guitars on a pop song for me? And that's where it started. I was like, okay. And he sent it to me and I was like, is this somebody you're working with? He's like, oh, this is an up and coming artist. And I was like, okay. And I went into this so blind. I had no idea what I was doing. And then he was like, yeah, Shane's going to come over and put vocals on it after I sent him like a rough of what I was doing. And I was like, thinking that this artist was like, we were working with this artist, but that's not what was happening. I didn't even know who the guy was. So then we got together that day, basically. Yeah. That's summarizing it.
It was pretty similar for me. I was sitting there drinking a beer playing Tomb Raider, and I got a text from Sam, and he was like, hey, you know the song Tipsy by Shaboozey? I was like, yeah. And he was like, all right, let's do that. That was that simple. I love working with Sam, right? Just in general, and I just love putting vocals on anything. So anytime someone hits me up, I'm just like, yeah, let's go. Like, let's just.
Your voice sounds awesome on that track, man. I think it sounds like after listening through several choruses of it, I was at the gym when I was listening to it. I was like, he sounds great. Like, you could do pop, man, if you wanted to.
Yeah,
maybe you do already. But,
no, I don't. I'd love to try anything and everything. Yeah,
it was great, and yeah, I guess Sammy Slam Dance, is somehow like he had an epiphany and was like, yes, we will make a metal version of this song. So. And I'm hoping to get him on the show here in the next couple weeks as well. So
absolutely. I'll talk to him for
fun.
You.
That'd be great, man. I'd love that. So first of all, we tried to start this podcast a little bit ago, and I mispronounced the band name, which I think a lot of people have done. Yugen is how you say it, not Eugen, which is how I said it before. So what does that name mean? I think, Jake, you were talking about what it means.
It's kind of weird. It is a Japanese, I guess, phrase. I don't know exactly. Me and the original vocalist of this band, just came across it, and it basically means an experience that's overwhelming and hard to put into words. That's
like a transcendence. Like
sure.
You're in awe of something, and you can't put it into words.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's awesome.
I like that it started with a Y and there was only 5 letters.
Good
for Branndon.
He has problems spelling.
It's great for branding,
Only
man.
have to remember 5.
Yeah.
So yeah, the other thing I wanted to, just before we get deep into the conversation, you guys are playing a show on, is it August 28th with Flying Formation? Yeah. Like, how did all that come? I actually know Nate, the drummer of Flying Formation. How did all that come together?
Nate gave me a call, and he was like, "We're playing our first show as Flying Formation, and they needed an extra band." So, a little bit of a genre difference, I guess, but Nate's an awesome dude, and we've worked together a lot through my day job and also just being good friends. And so this whole year, I feel like kind of just been playing more shows and been more adamant about getting out there, and this was just another opportunity, and we're taking it. And also, it's the end, and
the end rules. It's just easy to do a show there. We know what to expect. There's great live sound. It's just a great hang.
Parking has become a nightmare.
Oh man!
But that is, it's like that everywhere. So.
But it pops off whenever we play. So.
It's such a great venue, man. Yeah, I usually pay, it's like $8 maybe to park around that area, which isn't fun when you're in a band and you're trying to load in and stuff, but
it changes every time I go. It's like, I always said when the garage by the exit in over there closed, it was the official, or it didn't close, but it became a paid garage. Death of Nashville, like official death of the city after that garage became paid.
That whoever was the sound engineer that night, that snare, that tail that he was putting on everybody's snare was fucking good.
Sick.
Are you talking about the alluvial show?
Yeah, the alluvial show.
Yeah.
Sound guy riding the fader on the reverb on the snare.
The special sound guy that's willing to do that.
I could hear it, and I was like through my in-ears, I could hear it, and I was like, this is so beefy.
I was honored.
Sounds so good.
Shout out to the sound guy if you're watching this. You rule. No, that show will be sick. That's August 28th. Is that a Saturday?
So Wednesday,
August 28th.
But it's three band bill. Come on out.
Next week, So
nice and digestible.
Yeah.
That'll be a sick show. This probably won't come out till after that show. But hey, I'll see what I can do. Maybe I can edit Speedy and get this out. But if you haven't seen Yugen yet, definitely check these guys out. So yeah, I my first real deep question is to Shane. The type of singing that you do in this band is really demanding. It's really dynamic. That was one of the things that stuck out to me when I saw you guys play. Is like, I was like, this guy, number one, is going all in. I could see like that you weren't phoning in your performance whatsoever. And not that really that many people do that, but the clean vocals, the dirty vocals, the different type of brutal vocals, like, tell us about your vocal journey. Like, when did you start singing, and when did you decide you wanted to blend all these elements into the music that you make today?
Sure. Yeah. Actually, a buddy of mine just recently said that I sounded, because I sent him our new track that we're working on, and he said that I sounded like Chester Bennington from Linkin Park, and I remembered when my screaming journey actually started. But prior to that, so I grew up in choir. I was never into like football or baseball or anything like that. Like, singing and music was like my escape, and that was my love. And I remember it was after Hybrid Theory came out, and I had gotten that album, and I was like 11 or 12 years old, and I was already like singing in choir and stuff. But I'm pretty sure I was singing along to Crawling or Numb from that album, and like I was like, crawling in my skin.
Oh yeah.
And I remember my mom being like she's in the other room, and she's like, what is this stuff? Like, I was like, Mom, this is really good, and like she's like, doesn't sound good to me, and so like after that, I realized that I wanted to listen to more heavy music, and like anytime you're probably in a metal band, you probably didn't have the best upbringing anyways, like you have all this aggression that's pent up anyways, and I'm not getting it out through like football or sports. So I I started watching that show Fuse, or that channel Fuse. Y'all remember that?
I used to
don't know
watch
if
it
I
too.
do.
Yeah. It was that show. It was that channel that was like replaced MTV after MTV became like the reality TV.
Yep.
And they always had commercials in between their music videos about like crapping on MTV, and then they just went that direction anyways. But like I started seeing bands like AFI on there, and I started seeing bands like Story of the Year, and they like implemented screaming stuff. And I already knew that I could tap into that a little bit with like Chester's stuff, right? His is more of like a heated sing. I just started singing along to that stuff, and like I think a lot of people don't realize that a screamer doesn't have these like secret vocal cords, right? It's just your vocal cords that you're manipulating to make these different sounds. And I got in my first band when I was 14-ish, and it was all heavy, like harsh vocals, and that just forced me to learn it even more. And I've just been kind of progressing ever since. Yeah.
It's amazing, man. Yeah, like Hybrid Theory was a big deal. I think, and just the vocals from that era, the nu metal bands. I know, like most people today either love them or hate nu metal.
Sure.
You know, it's kind of a polarizing thing.
I love nu metal, dude. It's so good.
Yeah, like the amount of weirdness, and you were the more of a freak that you were, like the better. And if you fully committed to your aesthetic. And like that's kind of the thing that's missing today with like heavy bands is a lot of them don't have like an aesthetic, you know. Yeah. And that's something that because you want to be authentic, and we can't do what the nu metal bands did again in the 90s.
Yeah.
But
Why not?
Well, maybe we should, but that's just something that
2.0
is special about that era, you know. And for me, it was like System of a Down, like in terms of amazing vocals that I would just. Singable melodies and abrasiveness, and I had that. I played those songs so many times. My parents took the CD away. Yeah, you know, and we cannot stand listening to this. And I was literally pogoing up in my bedroom, shaking the whole house. And my parents were like, "What is going on up there?" Yeah, I'm just listening to pogo, Mom. You know. Yeah. So that is a band that comes to mind that might be kind of similar to the type of vocals that you do. But, I noticed that the newer material that you guys are working on with Blood, Fire, and Sand is probably heavier than some of your older stuff, probably maybe less clean singing. Did you guys have like a specific kind of thing that you were going for when you made that EP?
Me and Jake got drunk one night, and... we weren't even together. We were just on the phone talking, and we got drunk one night, and like this is just for lyrical content of that EP. Yeah. We were just like, you know what? We should like write some songs about some movies that we love, or like inspired by the movies that we love. But you could probably talk about more about like the instrumentation.
With the instrumentation, basically we did Pan, and since we had like the entire lineup, like half the band of a lineup change, we did Pan, which was interesting, and then it's like, should we just kind of lean into being heavier at this point forward, or what should we do? And everybody agreed to that, so I kind of just I tried to keep like the melodic ideas still there, where I feel like it's still very obvious it's the same band, but just being more aggressive a lot more consistently. And
I think even early on we had a conversation about the fluidity of our sound, and how we like there's a lot of bands that just keep pumping out the same sound, and their fans love them for that sound. And I'm not knocking anybody for doing that, but like I feel like we didn't want to be pigeonholed into just a proggy sound. Because I think when Yugen first started, before I joined the band and before Branndon joined the band, like they were very proggy. But I think that we just I think it started with Haunt, with the EP Haunt. Like we went pretty straight metalcore on that EP.
I was gonna say also that EP Haunt, which was the first thing that I played on after joining the band, little 4-track EP. It had like the spectrum was a little bit wider though. Like there are several tracks that are like I would like argue primarily clean, like not a lot of heaviness on them. And but the you know, the second two tracks 3 and 4 rather, are a lot heavier.
Yeah, we kind of lined it up to get progressively, you know, heavier as the EP went along.
Yeah. So like there is that like spectrum, I guess. You know, I feel like the stuff we've been making recently is a good bit more blend of that. You know, a little more evenly blended rather.
I did have a question on the way here. Was I a part of the band when after Haunt was already written, or before we wrote Haunt?
There were parts of Haunt written. I think that there were. I think I had like 2.5 songs, skeletons done basically, but like they weren't what they became.
Yeah,
I think that
because I wanted to process my dad's stuff, and maybe that was why we went to like the slow.
If I remember right, I wrote. I have to breathe deep the air anew. I always have to do that in my head to remember, because I always make the tracks demos called something else. Deep, I think I had already written.
I think you did, yeah.
I think that the last one I actually wrote, I think, was the third one, which I have another song setting there that I've just never done anything with that we didn't put on the EP, and I have yet again another song I wrote before I wrote any of it that never made it to the EP. But
I remember that now, yeah, because I remember like thinking that the air should actually come before Anew, because of the energy of that song, and Anew just like, I feel like that song just bangs, and like it's just that the ending of Anew is just so like melodic, and like it had to be the ending of that album or that EP. So
yeah, I had a question about Sand, that particular song, which has a beautiful chorus, by the way. But it seems like, is that song about like oil basically, and oil? Like, am I totally like reading into that way too much?
So
I mean, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong, right?
It's
so
kind
like,
of a blood oil anthem in a way.
It's that's a part of the Cinema EP, right? So Blood, Sand, and Fire. This goes back to me and Jake getting drunk on the phone and figuring this out.
It was going to be called Cinema originally.
Yeah, and then we just decided to call it Blood, Sand, and Fire. So like, Sand is inspired by the movie Mad Max. And so I wanted to get, yeah, dude, that movie rules. And so like, or that franchise rules. So like, I wanted to like get into the mind of someone who's in that situation and kind of process that stuff. And Blood is about Evil Dead. That one's way on the nose, right? I was just having fun with that one. And then
lines straight from the movie and the lyrics.
Yeah. And then Fire was actually about Jurassic Park, mostly about the books. I really love those books. So
Michael Crichton, is that the?
Michael
author?
Crichton.
Yeah.
Dude, shout out to Michael Crichton.
Yeah, shout out. Big time.
Also shout out to Nick Cross. He was on Blood. Jesse from Lines in the Sky was on Sand.
Great
Ben and
singer.
Audra. Yeah, dude, he's a fantastic singer. Ben and Audra,
Guitar player too.
Yes.
He's I've seen that guy perform a couple times, and I'm like, dude,
how he does?
You're
Like,
on
I don't know
another
how
level.
you
Singing.
match. I don't know how you do
While
it.
singing.
While
he's
singing.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
then Ben and Audra from Bazooka Tooth were on Fire. And dude, shout out to Bazooka Tooth. They're probably one of my favorite hardcore bands in Nashville. And
Heck
they're
yeah.
just incredible human beings. Every single one of them. Chris, Trevor, Ben, Audra. They're amazing.
Yeah, I remember seeing that their vocalist was in the Fire music video, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Audra was in there for a little bit, but like it was just like little clips of her.
Yeah.
And
Furious screaming, dude.
dude, her freaking screaming is crazy furious. That's what I wanted for that song, and I just love guest vocalists in general.
Yeah.
But that's what I wanted for that song. Like Ben and Audra's like they have their vocals are like a serious juxtaposition, right, with each other. So like there's just like opposite ends.
Yeah.
And when you put it in Fire, it's just like, oh wow, this is aggressive. This is super aggressive.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that music video. That was
Awesome.
killer, man.
Yeah, that was Sam. Yeah, Sam did that.
Oh, the bands that I play in, like, we need to make some music videos, so it's nice to know who's making them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Sam
Man
and
to hit up, that's for sure.
Yeah.
that's awesome. what can we expect next from you guys? Are you working on it? You guys have several EPs. Are you working on a full-length record? Is that kind of the route that you want to take, or are you going more for singles?
Singles.
You know, what can we expect from you guys for like upcoming releases and things like that?
Singles. Probably for a while.
Well, it's been a minute since we like finished tracking it, but we've spent majority of the year really working on a track that'll be out soon. Mm-hmm. Do we want to give them the title?
Yeah,
it's called Stay. I mean, I would definitely let Shane elaborate more on kind of what it's about, but I would say it's like musically pretty in line with what we've the last EP that we put out. But it does kind of delve a little more into the like ethereal element of us.
I'd say so, yeah.
And that definitely was intentional, at least from my perspective. But lyrically, I don't know. I would let Shane take the floor on that.
We have this song, and then we're working on another song that I'm gonna title "Leave." I talk a lot about just trauma and processing trauma, and because I'm a nuts and crazy person, but I went through a divorce 2 years ago. The song is kind of playing with two ideas, right? Like the idea of like wanting to stay in this relationship, but also realizing that staying in this relationship is actually going to cause more damage than good. And then after my divorce, like I started, I was in a really dark place and like had like suicidal ideations and stuff, and like you have to kind of choose to stay for yourself, even though you weren't able to stay in that relationship. Now you have to choose to stay for yourself. And so that's what that song is playing with.
Shane, do you know about the Enneagram? Have you learned about that before?
Yeah.
Do you know what type you are?
I don't remember. I took it one day. I feel like it was like a 4 with a wing of something. I don't remember.
I feel like you're probably a 4, man.
Okay.
I'm a 4 as well.
What is the 4?
It's like the artist, basically.
Yeah.
It's the individualist is also another term that's used for that.
That sounds right. Yeah.
There's a book. I'm listening to this audio book right now. It's called Personality Types.
Sure.
And it's all about the Enneagram. They talk about the history of the Enneagram.
Is it on Spotify?
It probably is.
Okay.
I'm listening to it on Audible.
Okay.
But it's like 20 hours long, But you can skip to the chapter that's about your personality type. But a lot of good information is in there, man.
Yeah.
And not only for yourself, but to like learn about other people too. And it's one of those things for me where like if I want to stop damaging my relationships, I have to learn this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For sure.
And if I want to move forward in my life and connect more deeply with people, like I better read this book, So
yeah. I one of the therapists that I was talking to before I got with my therapist now, she actually a part of her therapy is doing the Enneagram, and like and I think it is focusing it in on kind of like what you're saying, understanding your personality and how does it jive with other personalities. Right. But no, I'll look that up on I bet it's on Spotify. Spotify has a bunch of audiobooks now.
Yeah. I bet it's on there too.
Yeah.
Another really good resource that's like specific to men is this book. It came out in 1990, but it's called King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. And it's like, it's archetypes, that it's men
sure.
throughout history, and
right.
like, dude, that book is, it makes me cry, man. It's so powerful. It's great. So, but anyway, continue to talk about the new songs, man.
I love chopping up any kind of emotional stuff and like all that stuff. I've been in therapy for years. It's one of my loves is self-care and self-healing and all that.
The type 4 Enneagram is, that archetype is the most in touch with their emotions, more than probably any of the other types. So
I think that is honestly like what drives, at least it's what drove me to music, is because music made me feel things that were outside of my norm. Whereas like my parents were really big, like they're of a different generation, right? So they're really big into like football and all those different things, right? Like baseball and sports or whatever, you know?
Sports ball.
Yeah.
Sports ball.
Grew up with all that stuff, man. Yep.
And that stuff made them excited, but what got me excited was like melodies that struck me to the core and made me feel something different than my norm. And I feel like that's probably the same story for most. I mean, you guys can add to this, like if that's y'all's experience as well.
Yeah, do you guys know what Enneagram types y'all are? Have you guys looked into that?
I took it a long time ago. I can't remember. I believe mine was 4 something as well.
A lot of musicians are, man.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
I think I'm a 9.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I have to throw out a number.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's probably not. It's not like a perfect system, you know. I'm sure there's no, human beings are so complex that there's probably no way to like nail us down.
You're just trying to find a category.
But once you start
know.
reading, if you just read through all of them or just listen through all of them on an audiobook, you'll be like, "That's me, man." Like I'm a 5 or I'm a 7.
Yeah,
it's
and
pretty
it's
wild.
And it's not like the astral. What is it? What's that called?
Your sign.
It's not like the sign stuff where
Astrology.
It's just like,
yeah,
it's not like that. It's like these are like I feel like when I read astrology or like when I'm talking to somebody who's like, you know, what's your sign, or they're talking about their sign, I feel like I can just read all the signs and be like me. Whereas like the Enneagram is pointing out you. Mm-hmm. But I think if I understand it correctly, it can it can change over time, you know, as you're growing and learning and stuff.
The Enneagram, there is maybe a few possibilities where you could change, but in general, it's something that's set in during childhood, man.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
maybe your wings change.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, depending on how healthy or unhealthy you are in your given archetype. So Shane, you were talking about the new song "Stay" and like talk a little bit more about the inspiration for like the lyrics on that. I feel like we started talking about the Enneagram and stuff like that, but take us back to like what were you thinking of when you were writing the lyrics on that song?
So. Like I've dealt with depression and anxiety on and off for years, and so like when you go through a divorce, like like when you look at like the top 5 traumatic events that you can go through in your life, like the number 1 is death, right? Any form of death, I think, and number 2 is divorce. And if I understand it correctly, it hits the same place in your brain as death does.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was married for 7.5 years. And it was a mutual decision. For 7.5 years, it just felt like we were trudging uphill, and I think that we were lying to ourselves a lot that this marriage was actually going to work, and we tried to make it work. We tried couples counseling and we tried individual therapy, and we just couldn't make it work. And so I think I wanted the opportunity to process that musically, because as we were talking about earlier, like music that's how it touches places in my soul, right? Like it opens up stuff in my heart. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted the opportunity to process the anger that I had about that and the confusion, right? None of my lyrics are pointed at her, right? Because it was a mutual decision. I still love her. Like we were texting recently and talking about a mutual, well, we're not friends anymore, like an acquaintance of ours. But I just wanted the opportunity to express my confusion and my anger. And lyrically, that's kind of what I try to do. Like even in Haunt, even though it was about the death of my father, it was more introspective than anything, you know? Through therapy, I've learned not to just point my anger at people, you know, because it's my anger and I own it. And on stage, like when I get to perform this song, it's almost like an opportunity for me to express. And that's what that's what I think about being a vocalist, is I want to be expressive. I want people to feel the things that I'm saying. I grew up listening to a lot of bands that, like, I feel like those vocalists, they had so much conviction behind the words that they were saying, but you couldn't actually feel it, right? You couldn't hear their conviction. They're just spouting out verses on a page. And so with Stay, I think it's probably the most expressive I've ever been. I'm doing vocal patterns and vocal styles that I've never done before. They just sound desperate. And so, yeah.
Sounds amazing, man. Looking forward to that. And you guys were talking about a possible release date. Have you guys nailed that down yet, or?
Yeah, September 20th. We'll release that. We'll start releasing like the album artwork for it too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a part of a full-length record? No. EP?
No, we're not really doing that, I don't think. Like I would love one day to just take some time and just like build something like a full-length 10-song album or something like that. But that's just not the way that music works anymore.
You're right.
Yeah.
I think you guys are doing it the correct way. The waterfall release method is another way. If you are releasing an EP or an album, to do like 1 or 2 tracks at a time.
That's what we did.
But I feel like you have to be a really established metal band to just drop a record that has like 12 songs on it or something.
The amount of work that goes into putting together these tracks, especially in this genre, it's just a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And especially trying to get 4 people together in a room to write, to, agree on what's next in the song, how to organize it. There's just so many little things that go into it that make the releases more complicated, make it more difficult. So for us, releasing them 1 or 2 at a time makes a little bit more sense with our normal busy lives.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And if you want to do music, you have to make your life revolve around the music, and there's never been harder to do this, in terms of the way the economy is structured and
it's a disaster.
How expensive it is to just live and go to the grocery store. I thought like, man, what if I just went to Chipotle every day for food, $10 a day, and that you just have that one meal, and then it's only like $70 a week for food. I don't know. I'm just thinking,
I like the way you're thinking.
You like this?
Yeah.
He's just hungry for Chipotle.
Yeah. I go to Chipotle all the time, man.
I do too, man. I go there at least like once a week.
I saw there was a Whataburger right down the road, dude.
We got everything out here in the Clarksville.
All I really want to do during lunch is drive to Chipotle, not even get out of my car. Just drive to the Chipotle.
Yeah, heck yeah.
And just dissociate in my car for 20 minutes.
Amen.
Eat the burrito in probably less than 5 minutes.
Eat something that's the size of a small baby.
Yeah, something that happens to me when I eat Mexican food. Something happens to me, and it just it turns me into a monster.
Okay, give us your Chipotle order.
Oh well, the veggie burrito.
Okay, vegetarian?
Yeah, well,
Vegan?
I used to be vegetarian.
You've gone through so many changes.
Yeah, well, we could do a whole podcast about that. No, I mean, I don't know. I've been a little more lenient here lately, but at Chipotle, I just know that like if I get the veggie burrito, it's going to be kind of a certain way. Like nothing can really go wrong. The thing that can go the most wrong is the guac, but even that, it's still pretty hard to mess up. I feel like.
What goes wrong with the guac?
Sometimes it just is like too limey, or it's maybe not salty enough, which is ridiculous. Like, don't even sell the guac if you can't make it right.
They do brag about their guac a lot at Chipotle.
Yeah,
they do.
I'm a Chipotle fan, and it's still like for like basically $10.
Yeah,
that's like a lot of food for $10
is.
compared to like going anywhere else.
I usually split it in half, man.
Yeah,
half a bowl now, half a bowl another time.
The bowl is kind of a treat. Sometimes I'll get a bowl, and it's like, oh, it's a little different. It's a different shape.
Yeah. There's this place, it's some kind of breakfast burrito place that I've only been able to find on Uber. And I don't remember it was Toasties. Oh. It's somewhere here in Nashville.
I was gonna say one of those Uber exclusive things.
It's literally, the burrito's this freaking big, dude. Like anytime I order it, I know that's all I'm eating throughout the day.
I know there's a place in East Nashville called the Redheaded
Stranger?
Yes,
dude.
Do they have big ass?
It's phenomenal. It's so good.
It pops off so hard, man.
Really?
Yeah.
I love a burrito, bro.
I don't know if it's
it's mostly tacos, man. But they do homemade tortillas.
Food, man.
They have a green chili burger that's out of this world.
Oh my god.
But yeah, each taco is like specially curated by their chef, and they're all different too.
Yeah.
And I think they have a chorizo breakfast one that's
Hold
just.
on a second.
I love how we just start talking about food.
Slow
and
down.
And now I love how we start talking about food, and now David is speaking.
Yeah.
Hey man,
What can I say?
people gotta eat. Bass players gotta eat, dude.
That's right.
He's
dude.
food motivated.
That's right.
Let's stick with David for a little bit then. So, dude, how did you get into playing metal bass, man? And then maybe talk about later how you got into Yugen.
That's a circuitous path. I started out just normal as far as music goes when it comes to playing. Got involved in concert bands and choirs, and I took piano lessons for 6 years and played trombone. I actually have a major in trombone from
That's amazing. You
Yeah.
studied trombone in college?
Yeah, I did. So yeah, I kind of always loved metal, but I never found my way into metal or into the right circumstances. It's kind of part and parcel with growing up in a small town in the middle of nowhere.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a small town in Iowa, right in the middle of Iowa, cornfields everywhere, farmers everywhere, not a...
Dude, I'm from Illinois. I'm from
Oh, nice.
like northern Illinois.
So
cornfields.
you know that world.
And my parents live in Iowa now.
Yeah.
It's a corn epidemic.
It
is what they
is.
say out there.
Corn and hogs.
The corn, damn it.
Dude, there's so much corn.
The nicest people you could meet, but
They are.
To be fair, there's not a whole lot of. There's live music, but it's not the same. It's not the same as being in Nashville, being in most major cities. So I didn't really have a lot of that experience growing up. So it took me a long time to get to a place where I could do that. Even in college, it was a pretty private school, kind of, let's say, insulated. So I didn't really have too many opportunities to go out, or didn't take the opportunities to go out and explore more. So moving to Nashville got me a little more out of my shell and into the wanting to get into that world, because I always, metal has always been one of my biggest passions for listening. I've always loved it.
That's amazing. Hey, let's back up a little bit. What town are you from again?
Little town called Story City.
Story City, Iowa.
Yeah, if you know where Des Moines is, about 45 minutes directly up the interstate, and you'll pass it. Right
Awesome,
along
man.
the interstate.
So you were like a band kid.
Yeah, I was the
Did you play
nerd.
sports too?
Yeah, little tiny school, which means I could do everything. So I did, cross country and golf and
You
theater.
ran cross country?
I did.
Look at his legs, man.
Oh, I see it
He's
now.
got some thunder thighs
Yeah, he
going on
does.
down
I
here.
know, man. Too much good food. I did as much as I could. A lot of it was music and theater related, so that's kind of where my background starts. I played jazz as much as I could, and that's where bass came into play. And,
So you started playing electric bass like in jazz band?
Yeah, they needed a bass player, and I was very interested. So
That's amazing,
Was
dude.
there a line of people that was interested?
no, it was probably just me.
How old were you again?
I don't know. 7th grade. What age is that? 13, 14? Somewhere in
Usually
there.
like in small towns like that, the band director will just pick a kid. Like, I need
Yeah.
bass.
That's
Yeah.
Bass, dude. You look like a bass kid.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, there
And
were
that-
probably kids, again, small schools, so there aren't too many people going for it. So, yeah, it was definitely an opportunity for me to get my chops wet and learn something new. And, I kind of fell in love with it very, very quickly. Started finding out bass players that I started to really pay attention to and enjoy, and just really started to have that as kind of my passion.
Dude, that's amazing. Did you ever learn how to solo on the trombone? Like jazz solo?
No, yeah, I kind of when the jazz stuff started, that was when I could really focus on bass.
Awesome.
Trombone stuff is more classical, more than
Gotcha.
anything else, and ensemble stuff.
Dude, soloing on the trombone, it looks like the hardest thing you could ever do because it's all intonated by your ears
Oh,
and
yeah.
the slide.
Yeah.
It's just like
Yeah,
Wild.
I still love the instrument. I haven't played it in 10 years, but I love the instrument.
Is Yugen about to put a trombone on our track, dog?
We can. I'd have to relearn how to play, so.
it'll come back to you,
We're
man.
gonna be like yellow card with a trombone, dog.
It'll come back. So what brought you to Nashville and how did you meet these guys?
So my last semester of college, I had a study abroad, if you will, that brought me here for a semester where you quote unquote learn about the music industry. It's it's a pretty insulated kind of place where you can learn if it's something you would like to pursue or if it's something that, oh, maybe I don't want to do music for a living, called the Contemporary Music Center in Brentwood. So I spent a semester there, met some people that, I had some great life experience, met my wife there, and just couldn't get enough of Nashville because obviously it has a lot more culture, or a lot different culture than what I was used to. So
yeah, man, farm culture is really interesting.
Yeah, about a year later, I moved back down for good and been here ever since.
It's fantastic, man. Have you ever been to Gunder, Iowa?
Gunder.
I've heard of Gunder, Iowa.
I can't say I'm familiar. What part of the state?
It's going to be northeast, kind of by Elkader, Iowa, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I'm familiar. I never really made a whole lot of trips out northeast.
My parents have a farm up there.
Okay, cool.
Particularly in Guttenberg, Iowa.
Yeah,
it's right on the Mississippi. Mm-hmm. But there's this place called the Gunder Burger, and it's in Gunder, Iowa, and it's no longer there. But they would make these like 1 pound beef patty burgers.
Bro, sounds delicious.
That were out of this world with potato salad.
Yeah.
The bun of the burger looked like a cute little hat sitting on top of the patty too.
Dude, that's
because they got a lot of beef up there, man.
Right,
yeah.
So they're generous with it.
Yeah.
So
that reminds me, what's that place in Texas, the Heart Attack Grill or something like that? Where like it's a 9,000 calorie burger.
Oh my gosh!
And if you're able to finish the whole burger, they'll like some cute girl in like a nursing outfit will roll you out.
Oh my gosh, that's freaking hilarious, dude. taking you to the hospital.
Only in America.
Yeah, dude.
Only in America.
Bro. I feel like that lady probably makes a lot of free money. She's just on the clock, sitting there waiting on somebody to finish that burger.
Gosh, Texas does everything bigger, man. But that's something special about Iowa is, great fried chicken, great burgers, great people, honestly.
I envy small town living. Like after living in Nashville for 14 years, like I was, in the last couple of years, I've been tempted to like go back to Mississippi or like Louisiana or like small towns in Florida. There's
something quaint or easy about small town living or less complicated,
right?
Probably less distractions too as an artist. I mean, I understand the appeal, and I think when I get older, I'd love to live out in the woods. That's where my parents live, in the woods,
Yeah, sure.
And it's really fun to go and visit them, because it's such a different way of life than what I live. But as an artist, I almost think it's maybe even essential to be in an area where there's like this kind of grind mentality.
Yeah.
And you're around other people, and I don't know if there's anything really to that, but I've heard other artists talk about that, or content creators or people.
I think that's what you miss. Again, being where I'm from and then moving to a completely different world. I mean, there is a grind that you need being in the music industry that just doesn't exist in the culture of small town.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you wonder if, I'm sure there's some black metal artists out there living in the woods that are making black metal records every year or something.
Right.
But it just seems like you need to be in some type of like city center, to be an artist these days.
There's still more opportunities in the big culture centers than there are in the small town world.
Absolutely, if you're a musician. Okay, Jake, we got to talk about your guitar playing, man. You are the Shred Viking, the Shred Lord. I listened to all of your stuff, man, all of the Yugen stuff from start to finish. And there's a lot of different techniques. You are a true metal guitar player, not just a metalcore guitar player. Like, you play shred guitar, fretboard tapping, sweeping, all of those different techniques. Tell us about how you started guitar, man. Like, what got you into it as a kid, and talk about your influences, man, and how you kind of bring that into the Yugen space.
When I was younger, the story you were telling earlier is pretty similar to what got me into metal in general. I didn't start playing guitar until I was 16. On my father's side of the family, they're almost all musicians, but I just didn't get into that until I was older. But when I was like 10, 11 years old, I would stay up late, and like when I was, younger, basically, you know, what was on the radio and stuff was what I liked, because that's what I saw. And I remembered when it would get to be later at night, there would be music videos that were a little different than the ones they usually play during the day. So I'd be sitting there and it's like Crawling by Linkin Park comes on, and I'm like, I like that.
Is this
then
like MTV too?
No, it was MTV back then, and like VH1. Is that what it's called? VH1.
Yeah, VH1.
And then Fuse. Whenever I got to be a little bit older, like Fuse is how I found out about Coheed and Cambria, which I wear this hat all the time, and I just kind of keep wearing it because people meme on me about it, basically.
It's your new identity, man.
Also, I have a big head, and it's the only hat that I have that fits me very well. But anyways,
This is the only hat I wear.
but I got into a lot of music when I was younger like that, and I had a guitar for a long time. I just never played it, and it was weird. My first guitar I had from even back then is a Cort 7-string.
That was your first guitar? Dude, that's insane.
Wow.
Yeah,
you started on 7-string?
I got this guitar at like when I was like 10. So in 2000, I had a 7-string guitar, which most people didn't have 7 strings in the year 2000, but my dad worked at a instrument repair shop, so I ended up with that. And then time went on, and I got in high school, and I liked metal and video game music also, just as big of a deal, if not more than metal, honestly. But I started meeting friends, and it just so happened that I got along with most people, but the people I got closest to were all musicians. So
yeah,
it's like, well, I have this red guitar, I guess I'll start playing it. And I was really into, like, before I guess I got introduced to metalcore, I was really big into like System of a Down and every new metal band you can possibly think of. I liked all of it. There was very little of it that I was not a fan of.
Baby.
Dude, Mudvayne, I love Mudvayne.
Mudvayne rules. They're back too, man.
I
They're
know.
out there doing it.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like I LD50, and I like everything after that too.
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
good. They're a special band.
Wasn't huge on Hell Yeah. I don't hate it. I've tried many times.
Oh, is that Pantera's spin-off band?
I think it was
The
what
vocalist?
was it? Vinny and Chad from Mudvayne. And anyways, I'm ranting. I have ADHD. I started learning how to play, and like I was introduced to like metalcore and like a lot of like the emo bands and stuff like that. So I was like learning like Silverstein riffs and As I Lay Dying and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And time went on, then I started listening to death metal and started learning how to play things from video games on my guitar, and it just kind of progressed. And also, like, I guess right at about the same time, whenever I was learning metalcore and stuff, I was like using early YouTube, being like, teach me how to do fast play or whatever. And I found like Rusty Cooley, Michelangelo Badio.
Dude, the OG YouTube guitar channels were so sick, man. Rusty Cooley.
Oh
my
yeah,
God.
he's even more of a monster today every time I see him.
Absolutely.
But probably my biggest guitar influence ever is Vinnie Moore, which most people don't know who that is.
Yeah,
but
dude. Monster blues player. Blues shredder.
I like the
Yeah.
blues stuff too, but I really liked that phase before he got there, and he was making like these just bizarre songs, like, but I guess bizarre is not the right word. It was like prog rock, I guess. And then he had like mixed in like neoclassical stuff. And I remember just like watching that guy play, and his phrasing to me just stuck out more than all the other dudes. And I was like, I need to learn how to do that. So several years of my guitar journey was sitting down and learning how to play licks and songs of his. So it's a weird one, I guess, that doesn't really translate that well to Yugen, but that's probably, he was the biggest part of my guitar journey.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the guitar players that inspired you don't necessarily need to be how you sound.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I love John Petrucci, and maybe I sound like him a little bit, but like that's what I grew up listening to, was like Dream Theater and Petrucci and
I had one
stuff
Dream
like that.
Theater album growing up. It was
Train of Thought.
no, Change of Seasons.
Yeah.
That was my introduction to Dream Theater.
Yeah, that's maybe not the best Dream Theater album. It's still good.
It's good.
But-
it's not. There's nothing wrong with it. I think the first album is still the one. I'm not a huge Dream Theater fan, but I really like the first album.
Images and Words. Yeah, it's a killer record.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you grow up, man?
Nashville. I was born in Nashville. I moved around, but I moved to Branson when I was very young, and we moved back. And then when
Missouri?
I was... Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And then I don't know how long we were there. It was probably a year. I was too young to know. I was like 4. And then we moved to Georgia for 3 years in Calhoun, which is the place I was talking to you about earlier.
Yeah.
Back then, there was nothing there.
You're talking Calhoun, Kentucky?
No, Georgia.
Oh, Georgia. Okay.
It's about 40 minutes away from Atlanta. It was just like a really small town. Like when you drive home every day, you just smell chicken crap, like for 10 minutes straight, basically. And then you get home and you can still smell it, even though it's miles away.
I feel like my high school team used to play football against Calhoun.
Well, that was probably half the school that they were playing against. But
Is that why we lost all the time?
probably.
Shane, where did you grow up?
For high school, I went to Saltillo High School in Mississippi.
Okay.
So maybe it was Calhoun, Mississippi that we were playing against.
There's probably a bunch of Calhouns. Nobody
Jackson,
knows where they are.
Mississippi, or
Saltillo, Mississippi.
Saltillo, Mississippi. Okay. Sorry,
So it's right. Do you know where Tupelo, Mississippi is?
I could look at a map and probably find it.
Sure. Yeah. Because the upper half of Mississippi is like the biggest city there.
Yeah.
But I also I was born in Florida, moved around in Mississippi, like Hattiesburg area, and then went to Louisiana, and then back to Mississippi. I moved like every 3 years of my life until I got to Nashville, and then I refused. I'm done moving around.
Yeah.
So like all around Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana, and back to Tennessee. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Jake, how do you come up with riffs, man? How do you write stuff? Do you write a lot of the music for the band?
All the like guitar and melody based stuff, yeah.
Do you like pre-pro stuff on your computer for these guys? And okay.
And send it out, and then everybody can figure out what they want to do at the luxuries of their home, and then we kind of, back and forth a bit, and then we go and record it.
Awesome.
But as far as like writing, honestly, I just kind of get earworms all the time, and I'll get like melodies stuck in my head. I also have like an insane amount of videos of me literally humming melodies.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's funny.
So you think in melodies, man?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I feel like it doesn't matter what the genre of music is to me. There has to be, like, I guess you can call it the hook, just something that will get stuck in there, I want something from one of the songs to get stuck in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, that's what makes a song good. You can listen to some stuff that's unbelievable to me, and I'm like, man, that's sick. But if I don't have it in my head, I'm like, it's missing that one thing that would have made this perfect. I don't know.
Oh, I'm trying to be more melodic as a guitar player, and there's several different ways to do that. But I'm just a riff guy, man. I just chug away, and
sometimes the earworms are riffs too.
Yeah, I mess around with scales a lot and intervals and triads and things, but I need to get better at melody, man. So that's cool. Listening to your stuff that stood out to me big time is there's some hooks, man.
Thanks.
Didn't you like spend some time working on music theory? Like,
yeah,
did you go to school for that?
No.
Okay.
No, I just read. I mean, I honestly, like, with theory, I understand theory, not like to an insane level like some people, like, and I don't generally grab my guitar and go, this is going to start off with an A major 7 chord, but I'll recognize it and I have it in there basically. To me, like, I started learning like a lot of scales and stuff, and all of that is, to me, honestly, playing guitar, scales, that's just the king. Like, you don't even have to know like an absurd amount of them. To me, like, I kind of, with few exceptions, I basically like think of majors and minors for everything, and I kind of just augment other scales over it in my head. Like, if you're looking at the pentatonic scale, it's like, okay, then you can think about the blues pentatonic scale. It's like, okay, well, there's just one extra note in there. And then you can throw the major minor over that. Now you have basically major minor with just that blues note. Then you can think of, oh, well, I can add the harmonic minor in here. And now all of a sudden the fretboard has lined up with just all these crazy options you could do theoretically.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I don't do a lot of this in Yugen per se, but like I like to slide out of like odd notes that are from those scales. So you just kind of get a weird like flip of what? Oh, okay. You just kind of go from there. But
yeah, scale knowledge is really important to me too, man. Like I've been working on double harmonic major lately, which has like 3 half steps in a row in like the middle of the scale.
Yep.
It's really it's
kind of
fascinating.
like the blues pentatonic.
Yeah. It sounds very Middle Eastern when you just kind of shred it on the guitar, but when you build chords from it, it's like this haunting, like cinematic kind of scale.
That's awesome.
Pretty cool. I'm by no means a master of it, so I'm just kind of getting my feet wet with it. So.
I don't feel like I'm a master of any scale. None of them. I'm just like I
It's
know
there
it
to be used.
Yep.
Well, I want to get to Branndon and talk about your drumming, man. Like, I was blown away by how clean your drumming was when I saw you guys play live.
Thanks, man.
And I know that like the stuff that you're executing is really difficult and hard, but you're managing it so well. Like all of the intricate breakdown patterns with the feet, but it's not just like 4 on the floor with the hands and then breakdown patterns. Like you're doing a lot of different stuff. So like I just wanted to say that first.
Thanks.
But,
that means a lot.
How did you get into heavy music, man?
Oh man. Well, I would say Slipknot was probably the first like actual heavy band that I would like tell my mom about. Like, hey mom, you heard of Slipknot? And like,
your mom scared?
No, because my both of my parents have like always been so like accepting of like the music that I listen to. I don't feel like I really ever have had a time in my life where I was like limited.
Did you have some baggy trap pants back in the day?
No, I mean, dude, I would say
why not?
I would well, because
my mom wouldn't let me
Trip
have
pants, trap pants. I'm saying that wrong. Trip pants, I think is what they're called.
I mean, it was like
for it now.
probably like 2008 that I really got into like where I could definitively say I like this heavy band. So like I think it was Guitar Hero 2, whichever one they had Before I Forget on. There was a Guitar Hero that had that song, and that was like, okay, like now I can get into this. And then like I checked out the music video for it. The music video is sick, and I was always just like kind of I just loved that vibe. And really no music I'd listened to before that really took those like risks of edginess, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because my dad, I grew up a big Rush fan.
Heck yeah, dude.
And I mean, I still
Rush.
am, of course. Like, my dad's seen Rush like almost 30 times.
Oh, heck yeah.
Your parents are awesome.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They're who I want to be
the
when
best.
I grow up.
They're the absolute best. But my mom was a big Van Halen fan and is a big Van Halen fan. I kind of like neglected that a bit when I was a kid, and I don't know, I love Van Halen now, but I don't know, it was hard for me to put together like what my actual music taste was until I was maybe in like high school, almost probably to college, honestly, before I was like, I know what I like. I guess kind of getting back to the heavy part of it, like it never felt like a rebelling. I don't know. It was like, I got to rebel against my parents because it's like heavy music. I just like always really liked, especially the drums, just like playing at full velocity and the raw energy that you you get with any brand of heavy music. But yeah, I don't know. Slipknot was the first kind of delve into it. After that, Meshuggah, which I know is kind of an extreme sort of jump, but that sort of, the Meshuggah shirt, like that kind of gave me a sense of like, okay, this can be heavy, but also like insanely complex. You know, of course, I'm like a big Tool fan. Between the Buried and Me is like probably my favorite band ever. But that kind of all came after those two. I didn't grow up in it, really. I didn't have this sort of like, I never had like angst, like true angst, like looking back on it. It was always just like, oh, I'm just like interested in this heavy
It sounds
music.
very healthy, man.
Yeah, well, I guess, I mean,
healthier than mine, yeah.
Yeah.
That's even more so.
Music has always definitely been like, you know, an escape, but I don't necessarily know if I like associate too much like negative and raw emotion with my love for heavy music. I've always loved just the way that it makes me feel, you know. I've over half my life. I guess it's probably been about half my life I've been, you know, truly into heavy music now. But I definitely didn't grow up into heavy music.
Who were some of your favorite drummers, man? Influences and stuff like that?
I mean, number one, I think will always be Gavin Harrison from Porcupine Tree and
wow.
other.
Didn't expect you to say that. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, King Crimson now too is, you know, what he's. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
King Crimson is. I don't even really know if they're touring. I don't think they're touring anymore. But
dude, a version of King Crimson is touring with Steve Vai.
Oh,
and Adrian Belew.
Yeah,
and Danny Carey. From Tool.
Yeah, no, I think that's coming to Nashville.
I think it is.
Should we go?
We should.
I mean,
all
I would love it. I would love that.
Probably should.
I love King Crimson.
Well, and Danny Carey, I was gonna get there too. Gavin Harrison is number one, just because I always loved his. He's like the most musical drummer I've ever heard, because he just turns, for me, he turned the instrument into a sort of a polyphonic. I mean, that's what it is. Drums are polyphonic by nature, but like he was able to do things with like all four limbs in such a more musical way than just your natural like rock drummer.
Yeah.
I also love. I mean, I love. You know, I have to throw John Bonham and Dave Grohl in there, of course, because I love that like side of rock music. But Gavin just always represented way more of a like nuanced musical approach to drumming for me. And I think that's what I take the most from in like the spectrum of like softer melodic playing all the way up into like straight like highest velocity possible metal drumming. These days, I don't know, I've really been loving Eloy Casagrande ever since he joined Slipknot. Especially now, I think there's never been a better time like in the last 10 years to see Slipknot now. I'm really influenced by everything I see nowadays, but Gavin is definitely the OG.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, I'd love to see Slipknot. I enjoyed them with Jay Weinberg and of course Joey.
Yeah.
Well,
Joey, of course.
But like, I think it's cool that they've hired Eloy, because I mean, I was watching videos of him when he was like a 14-year-old kid just murdering the drum set with reckless abandon. You know, it's like it's like, where is that fire coming from inside that person? It's like
I mean,
wow.
Brazilian players too are just like on a different level. The Brazilian percussion is one of my favorite types of percussion and worlds of music in general, and I think that like sort of organic approach that he brings to this, not to say that Slipknot was ever like on the grid like perfectly like quantized, because they definitely are way more raw than that, but like he brings this just like heavy like earthiness to that sound while still being like machine, like totally machine like, you know.
Yeah, super impressive to watch that guy.
I would love to go. I don't think they're coming to Nashville. Like they haven't announced that, but I would assume at some point in the next few years I'll be here. I'll absolutely go to that. Like,
oh yeah,
I want to see that so bad.
I've literally never seen Slipknot live.
Me neither. I never saw him with I never got to see him with Joey. Not to say not anything against Jay. I just like wasn't really. I don't think I was really into any music they released during that period. But now I'm so like interested in going.
That's cool.
Yeah.
No, I got to see Slipknot at Bridgestone, and actually Jay was the one who invited me to that show. And,
on.
It was awesome, man. Any chance to see those guys play? I mean, gosh, man, they just have such a great show. You know, Slipknot's just
the pyro
legends.
And like, you know, however many like trash cans are on stage.
It's a real special experience, man. I would have loved to see them in like '99 or something, like or 2003, like back in the day. That would be sick too. But seeing them just a few years ago at Bridgestone was pretty wild.
Yeah.
The weirdest show I've ever seen live was Guar. That was absolutely insane.
I bet that's weird. Yeah. Where did you see him at? Exit In?
It was a Warped Tour. They played they played the last Warped Tour here in Nashville, And yeah, that was the strangest thing.
Shane, have you seen the Guar documentary?
No.
It's wild. You should watch it.
All right.
Yeah, watch the Guar documentary. It'll blow your mind.
Is it on like Hulu or
I
something?
think it's
or like-
Netflix or
Okay.
it's around. Maybe Amazon.
Wait,
but-
haven't some of the members died?
Yeah, the lead singer,
Yeah, they have quite a
Maximus.
story, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, the story
There's
is
quite a history.
pretty wild. I mean, what they did with that band, no one's ever done before, and probably will never do again. You know, Guar is just
I think
special.
Necro
yeah, maybe that's the closest modern.
Yeah, they
kind of
do
comparison.
something similar. They also were playing that same Warped Tour. Brandon's laughing.
That's crazy.
I love
Such a
Echo
crazy
Gallicon.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
yeah. They had this like goblin character that's like constantly running around the stage, and like he has his own podcast too, right? And like he's always like.
Does Necro Goblicon like sing? Is he their lead singer, or
No.
he's just like a character
just
that
like-
just
he's
hangs
a
out with the
character.
band?
Yeah, he's a
He's like-
character.
He's like the mascot, and I say that with nothing but respect.
Yeah.
That's what I've gathered.
I feel like I scrolled their Instagram and my brain was just like struggling to figure out what I was looking at. Like, and I was watching videos and
It's very strange. Right, like I feel like all he does is interview porn stars like constantly.
oh yikes,
So weird.
yeah, man, I can't watch that. So
Send
dude,
me a link.
yeah, hey, whatever you're into, man. So you work for Meinl, okay, and you do all of the Meinl videos that you guys have seen on the internet. Branndon has probably been a part of in the last few years. What is that like being around the top drummers in really all the genres and setting up their gear and running cameras? Like, how has that influenced you, and what is that vibe like for you, man?
I mean, I'm very thankful for my job, and it's a lot of work. But yeah, I mean, the amount of incredible people that you get to see and interact with on that close of a level is pretty incredible. It's just a lot of filming drums. I mean, that's what it is. Like, it of course is. You know, I work for a company that's making things to sell, but like it truly, I mean, to me, if it's more of a creative mindset, at least from the creating things that people like to watch, rather than making things that seem like commercials per se. It's more of naturally you just try to make things they're gonna watch and enjoy and not feel like they're being advertised to.
Well, what you're talking about is drum playthroughs.
Yeah, exactly.
And you work for a company that makes a product that people do creative stuff with.
Yeah, natural. I mean, that's the idea is to just
It's amazing.
show like things in their natural element and like how you would see them, being used in the most ideal scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I said, it's a cool gig. It's playing drums is still the thing I would like to do the most. But this is, this has been close enough.
Yeah,
for now.
That's awesome, man. I know I saw on your Instagram you posted like a clip of Matt Garska. Like, were you at that session when he was filming some of that stuff?
Matt, well, I've just kind of met Matt naturally through.
He lives here now, right?
Yeah, Matt's in Nashville. We have worked together like a few times, like through Meinl stuff over the years. Like the most recent Meinl videos he made earlier this year, we worked together on. That was like back in February. But we also he kind of approached me separately last year to work on his Mastering Time. It's like a 3-part series that he's done over quite a bit of time.
Instructional videos?
Yeah, all
Cool.
educational content. And we filmed together for 3 days back in March of last year and yielded a lot of stuff. Like that's the course itself is like over 2.5 hours, almost. Maybe, I can't remember, it's been so long now, but like over 3 hours of actual material.
That's amazing, man.
That we filmed. And yeah, Matt's an awesome guy to work with, and we're gonna be working on some more stuff soon here, actually. But yeah, like that definitely is a thing that's been cool for me. Like just opportunities that open up as a result of that. Definitely working with Matt has been one of the top experiences from that.
Yeah, he's an amazing drummer, man.
Yeah,
and he's
total alien.
He's a guy that's like committed to always innovating and always trying to get to the next level. Even though he's like, he could just like stop getting better today, and like that would be great for everyone. But he's interested. He's interested in like going to the next level. You know, and yeah, man. I have a lot of like good memories watching like instructional videos, like drum DVDs with my buddies growing up, and
totally
even VHSs,
Hudson
man.
Music.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Like just eating like a sandwich and watching those drum videos, man, and just going to Nerd Town. So I love that stuff. That's cool that you're working on projects like that. So what are some goals that you have as a drummer? I know you play in Yugen, and you guys are playing shows and writing music, and your playing is just fantastic, but do you play with any other artists, or would you like to play with other artists too?
Yeah, I have a few other projects I work with. Nothing like that's, really truly paying the bills, they say these days. But like, like I play with a Christian rock artist, actually, Devin Williams, who's based in, I guess, Pleasant View, kind of like halfway to here in Nashville. I played with him for like quite a few years now. I used to do more kind of just for hire stuff. I've kind of, not to say fallen out of that, just doing less of it because I live a little further outside of town now, and just trying to find a balance between work and, like a healthy time outside of work. It's not really in my best interest to be taking like as many gigs as I was coming like straight out of college,
Yeah.
Because I went to school for music too, but that was definitely, the whole time doing that, I definitely knew like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to have some other source of income after this, at least for a minute. Guess still that's kind of where we are still, but like I don't really view it as that anymore. It's just, I have like I've talked about, a job that I'm thankful enough to have that's closely enough related to what I love to do, but also gives me the ability to comfortably work on other projects like this one,
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like a really good setup, man.
Yeah.
Because you're working on, your work is something that's related to one of your passions, and,
totally.
and your creative output. So that's great, man. I'll be thinking of you every time I watch one of those videos, man.
Well, hopefully you're not like extra aware of any, like you're gonna like notice my mistakes.
No, dude. I'll take notes. I'll send them to you.
All right.
I'll send you a list, man.
Right. That sounds good.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk to you guys about balancing work and playing music, particularly playing original music, okay? So like that's kind of been the crux for me being a musician in Nashville, is like you got to work all of these jobs. I mean, I did everything. I drove Lyft, I delivered food, I taught guitar lessons, I worked at Target for a while, and then all the while I was practicing guitar and starting bands and playing different bands. And that's one way of doing it. And then the other way of doing it is to like be a Broadway musician, downtown, not plays and musicals, but country, like working in the honky tonks and being a drummer, let's say, or a guitar player and playing like, 12 gigs a week. And you can make pretty good money doing that. But I wanted to have each of you guys kind of talk about like maybe what your experience has been like with that. And, what are your thoughts on that? Like, what are some of the struggles that you've had to go through balancing, your creative output and your, just trying to make it, man, just trying to pay your bills and all that kind of stuff. And maybe we could start with Shane.
Yeah, so I feel really lucky because like I'm a project manager at a tech company and I work from home. Right? So like when as soon as I'm done working, if I have a project that I want to work on, I can work on it immediately, and I have a good computer. I have great software. I use Studio One as well. I don't know if you were using it, but I think I heard you say that you were using like a PreSonus preamp or something?
I'm using Cubase, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, I've heard a lot of great things about Studio One. I've tried
Yeah.
it; it just looked different to
Yeah,
me.
right.
So-
Yeah, I feel like it's a newer product and people are still kind of getting used to it. But I have that whole setup. Like my room is soundproofed and like I can just if somebody sends me a track, I can just immediately put music down on that track. But like or vocals down on that track. But like when it comes to playing shows, I mean that is tough. Like I have to be online at 8 a.m. Which is even worse for David. I mean, he's on site at like 4 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah.
And somehow he manages way better than I do. But I think that like ultimately nowadays as a musician, there's like you have to have your career. Like you have to have a job.
Yeah.
Because there's just no money in music anymore. Like Spotify and iTunes, like they don't pay musicians hardly anything, like I mean whenever I was in my first band, like we would sell CDs for like $10 a CD, right? Like we do not have that option anymore to sell physical appliances or physical discs anymore. And so like the way that bands have to function now with music is merch. Like you have to buy merch, right? And to pay for the merch, you have to have a damn job.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to
and
have
to pay
a job.
for your recordings and your gear and all the other stuff.
I mean, like there was
broken cymbals. And
I heard some ridiculous statement recently that like and I don't know which streaming company said it, but they were like bands are recording music and producing master albums for nothing now, and it's like who are you talking to that's paying nothing
I think
to
that
produce?
was Daniel Elk, the CEO of Spotify, made that statement.
That is the dumbest statement I've ever heard in my life. Like if you want good quality music, you have to pay a producer. Like you have to, right? Like if you want something, like I mean, you can produce within the band, which we did for a while, and it worked for a while. But like if you want to go to the next level, like you need an outsider's perspective to like mix and
I think
master
that's really
your
good
stuff.
advice, man.
Yeah. And so like you have to have a job, like a normal job, and like if you really want to like go somewhere, like in a band, like that's what I want to do. I'd love for music to be my only job, but I have to work myself out of my job for that.
That to happen. Yeah, and to kind of play devil's advocate, there are people just taking, wave samples and pre-made drum beats and just like, it's basically like puzzle. They're playing with a puzzle, but it's audio puzzle.
Yeah.
And I guess you could make some cool, interesting music that way.
Yeah.
So music has become kind of cheapened in a sense, where really you could come up with a lot of stuff with a guitar and a laptop and a microphone.
Sure.
Yeah. And maybe that's what he was talking about when he said that, but if you want to get to the next level, though, you have to invest. Now you got to pay someone who knows how to mix really well, and then you got to pay for mastering. And I think that for me costs anywhere from $100 to $300 a song.
Sure.
To get, and that's like, pretty cheap. Most people in metal that are mixing at a higher level are $500 to $1,000 a song. And then it just goes up from there. So.
Yeah, that's the range that we're paying. Yeah, per song. Yeah. And even if you were just like if you like riding with a drum machine and like riding guitar or whatever, like if you ever wanted to play that live, like you've got to pay those musicians, right?
Yeah.
So like it's not free. So
Yep.
yeah.
Right. What's
you
been your
said, if you-
experience, Jake?
Stress. Stress.
I can relate to that.
Honestly, he basically said everything. It's you have to have a job, and a lot of jobs are very stressful. And for me, a lot of times, right now, the job I have is not so bad, but it doesn't pay me nearly as much as I used to make. So there's that. But trying to, I guess, make it, whatever you want to call make it or whatever, it's very stressful because, like, you have to have money to do anything. Like, right now, if I were to say, I'm going to start doing a death metal project like I was talking about earlier, and I'm just going to do it all at home. Like, yeah, it's all, doesn't cost any money. Well, if I need to pay for an updated drum program.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd think, oh, $200? No, it's about $1,000 for good ones nowadays for the most part, unless it's just this. So you start paying more and more attention to this, and by the time, you buy your interface and all this other stuff, you need to upgrade things, get new plugins, blah, blah, blah. It's just expensive. And trying to balance your life around having a job and being able to afford to do this, it's stressful.
Exactly, man. And you're exchanging your time to work on music.
Yeah.
That time could be spent making money and building a business.
That's right.
But we as artists have chosen to not do that. Like, what am I going to do? Work on building a business for 15 years and make a bunch of money, then I'll start working on music? No, that's not going to work, man. I'm not going to work on music when I'm 50 years old.
Right.
Yeah, I can't wait for my death metal project to take off when I'm in my raw 60s,
I mean, hey, Carl Sanders is 61, the guitar player for Nile. So that's amazing. But he's been doing this stuff since 1996,
Right.
is when he started Nile.
Yeah.
And look at him now. They're the grandfathers of the genre, making some of the best music that's out there. So that's the thing that I really admire about musicians is like, yeah, we're willing to maybe live a little bit lower tier than most people to afford ourselves the time to get to the next level at our craft, whether it be drumming or guitar playing, and come out on the other side of that and make some real art, that is compelling to people and that people can connect with. And so yeah, what's been your experience, David?
Ultimately, stress is a good word. I would say sacrifices to do music.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, most of my sacrifices involve lack of sleep for live shows, especially.
That is so true, bro.
My job is a job where I have to be up early. Just the job that I chose when I moved down here, and I've stuck with it, and I don't mind the job. Because of that, it makes my life a lot harder. If I'm going to bed at midnight or 12:30 playing a local show, that means I'm not getting very much sleep, and I'm just going to have to suck it up and survive through it the next day, maybe take a nap the next day, whatever. But I do it because I love it. And if you don't love the process and love what you do, what the music that you make, the art that you create, you won't survive.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, even the most established bands are doing the same old thing they've always done. They have their cycle. They write their album, they promote their album, they go on tour, start writing again, start producing the record again. It's just a cycle over and over and over and over again.
And a lot of times they're writing on tour.
Exactly.
Like it never ends.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it never ends.
stops.
It's a consistent process, and they do it because they love it.
That's right.
They do it because they're passionate about it. So if you don't love what you're doing, you're not going to survive. Because music, especially now, because it's been commodified, you have to love what you're doing. You have to love what you're making. And who cares if you're making it in your bedroom, if you're going to a producer.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't love what you're doing, you're not going to make quality product, and you're not going to enjoy yourself.
That's right.
So, as stressful and hard as it can be, I'm here because I love playing bass and I love writing music with people.
That's right.
Heck yeah, man. That's well said. We kind of touched on this earlier. You get to work in kind of the drum zone pretty much, man. But over the years, like, what's been your experience with kind of balancing those two things, wanting to make creative music and having to like hold down a job and kind of all the stress that comes with that?
Yeah, well, I've worked at Meinl for like 7 years now, and that has basically been the amount of time that I've been out of college. So I don't really know, like, at least since then, like, I was in a band when a separate band when I started working at Meinl. So I think in at least the beginning of my time there was a little more, like, I worked in the warehouse initially, so it was a little more like labor intensive every day, I think. So I don't really know. It's hard for me to say that, like, what has been like the actual balance between the two since then, because like working at a desk all day for the most part, and then going home, like if I'm working on music, then I'm also working at a desk there. So like at least physically it feels kind of the same. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely, it's still hard. Like it's there is, at least recently, like I haven't really played that much. There's been hardly really any drums at my house in the last like 6 months for a few different reasons, but like it's hard to at least with drums, I've always thought it's very hard to like find time after work. Like there's about a 3-hour window. If I wanted to get home and record drums, about a 3-hour window, like from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, that's basically when I can do this without bothering anybody in my neighborhood or in my house or the 5 cats that I have in my house right now. Like it's hard to step around that. Sometimes there's, you know, parts of your life that it's easier to do than others. There's always a way, you know, and I'm fortunate enough to have like space at my house to be able to play drums and to make them sound relatively good, I think. But no matter like how much you work within your industry, there still is a level of like interest you have outside of that. And like everybody else has said, it is stressful and it's difficult. You probably can't devote 100% of your energy towards it whilst doing this thing that makes money for you to live your life, you know? Mm-hmm. But that's the circumstances we live under, and we have to work with that. And we still do, like, we make music regardless. We all just work real hard, you know? And that's the key. Like, there's no way around it. Like, you're just gonna have to work.
Yeah, it's the fact of life. It's the way society is structured currently. So you kind of have to roll with it, man. So yeah, thanks for your honesty around that, guys. Like that's a difficult thing to talk about as an artist. So, well, talk to the fans, man. What do you want everyone to know? Like what's coming up for Yugen as far as shows? I know we talked a little bit about a new song coming out in September. Any of you guys can answer that question, I suppose.
He's getting them dates pulled up right
he's
now.
pulling up some dates.
Up here.
Buy our shirts.
Buy the shirts. Hey man, we had a web store for a while and nobody used it, so we stopped. We took our web store down. But you can. All of our shirts are on Bandcamp. So if you want,
get on Bandcamp.
If you want some merch and you're local, that's especially easy. But if you're not local, it's very doable for us to send you a shirt. So like, just let us know what you want and we'll work it out.
We don't even care.
If you order a shirt, maybe I'll just like show up to your door and deliver it to you.
Yeah, we don't even care. Just DM us.
The warehouse is not busy right now.
It's not.
Yeah. No, that is the best way to support bands that you like that might be a little bit smaller, you know.
Yeah.
Buying a physical product, that's how we survive.
That's basically the only way. Yeah.
All the money we get goes right back into what we're doing. Right back into our recordings.
Most literally.
Yeah, back into our videos, right back into merch. I mean,
it doesn't leave Dave's Venmo.
It stays in our bank account until we need to spend it on something band related.
We're actually doing better with this than I thought we were. Like we're able to at least afford buying new shirts and like pay for recordings now.
Which is dope.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But we are about to release a new shirt. It's gonna be it will be out at the same time as our new song, Stay, September 20th. We agreed on. Mm-hmm. And that shirt design is actually done by Daniel Hughes at Black 13 Tattoo. He actually does all my artwork. So go see Daniel Hughes at Black 13 Tattoo and get a tattoo from him. But
buy a shirt first.
Buy a shirt first. Don't you go get a tattoo. Don't you spend that money on that tattoo without paying us first. But no, we have a show on August 28th. This coming up Wednesday at the end with Flying Formation and Tang.
Flying Formation. I was gonna say, sorry to interrupt you, man. The guitar player Dante Friziello, he's Steve Vai's second guitar player, so kind of a cool thing. I don't know if you guys know that, but yeah, that's Dante's band is Flying Formation. And when he's not doing Flying Formation, he's out with Steve Vai, like the greatest guitar player of all time.
Insane.
So why again are we on this show?
Those guys will just tear it up, you know.
For a time such as this,
Nathan Sletner on the drums. Any chance you get to see him play live, he's just gonna murder it. So.
Yeah.
All right, continue, man.
No, and then the next show we have is next month, September 25th, at where
Cobra?
The Cobra, yeah. Mouth for War, Life Cycles, No Cure, Maru, Decoy, and us, Yugen. That's a packed show. I'm surprised that it's in that venue.
That's the most
Like, gonna be a
bands we've
party.
played with, and since I don't even know.
Yeah.
Sounds like a old festival or something, man,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
2008.
Yeah, man. Like we're stoked to play that show. Like I feel like there's gonna be a lot of energy at that show, and I feel like that because that venue's so small, it's gonna sell out. Like 100%. Like Mouth for War, Life Cycles, No Cure, those bands are blowing up.
Yeah.
Also, we're also looking to do like mini tours, so we're looking for a touring agent of some kind, someone who can like do all that work for us. Because I tried and failed.
It's rough.
Hard, man.
It's hard, yeah. So we're looking for a touring agent. We're just looking for people to work with that can get us booked into more spots.
That'll
Yeah,
help the book shows. That's what we're looking for.
that's right.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I know there's Invictus Presents and Legacy Concerts. Those are two that I've seen that book a
Yeah,
lot of
We've
shows
gotten
around
some
here.
of them.
both of those, I think.
Yeah,
actually.
Invictus I think was Chattanooga.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
Chattanooga
yeah.
show. Yeah, that was him.
Oh yeah.
Joe Book shows.
Blind.
yeah.
We played with Blind Tiger in Chattanooga. That was sick.
Yeah, they were dope.
Yeah, they were sick.
awesome. Yeah.
And we'll definitely be playing with them again. at
Yes,
some
we
point.
will. 100%. I don't think we have anything else for the rest of the year.
Theirs will be more, I'm sure,
Mm-hmm.
before the end of the year. It's sort of been, we're just taking the year a slice at a time, not really
Yeah.
booking too far into advance. But we've definitely easily 2024 as we've played more shows this year than
I think this has been our biggest year as a band.
because we
Yeah.
played, it was probably 3 or 4 shows before COVID dropped. I joined the band basically.
Yeah.
Well, I was filling in at first,
Yeah.
and then we played a good amount of shows, and then the world shut down, and then it's taken us this long to kind of get back to
Right.
our rate of shows, but
Yeah.
That's awesome,
we're pretty
man.
much there.
Yeah, go check these guys out if you're in Middle Tennessee. You want to see a great band. Check out that show, the Mouth for War show. That'll be insane. Anybody that's watching this podcast this deep into it, this is for you, man. You rule. Thanks for checking out the show. These guys are amazing. They perform so well. It's a transcendent experience to see them do what they do. So check them out. Listen to their music. Go to the gym. Put your earbuds in and listen to them and work out, or go for a drive. Go for a bike ride. Listen to music, man. Yugen's been awesome. It's been great having you guys here. Shred Sessions episode 8. There you go, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Later.